You've achieved that big goal, the promotion, the dream house. You expected joy, but felt only an unsettling emptiness. Are you truly living or just existing? What if lasting contentment isn't found externally, but in the surprising wisdom of a 19th century pessimist, Arthur Schopenhauer? He offers a timeless path. Forget fleeting pleasure. This is your practical guide to building unshakable inner peace. Discover that what we think brings happiness might actually cause our misery. Welcome, fellow travelers on the winding path of life. Have you ever felt that insistent tug, that nagging sensation that no matter how much you achieve, acquire, or strive for true, lasting contentment remains just out of reach? That relentless pursuit of happiness often feels more like a breathless marathon than a joyful dance. If so, then you've stumbled upon a truly profound guide, one who, despite his formidable reputation, might just be the most unexpectedly liberating philosopher you could ever encounter. Today, we're diving into the compelling depths of the Essays of Arthur Schopenhauer, The Wisdom of Life. Now, before you conjure images of a perpetually scowling, doom and gloom philosopher intent on proving the utter futility of existence, let me stop you right there. Yes, Arthur Schopenhauer is often labeled the philosopher of pessimism, a man whose insights into suffering and the human condition are famously unsparing. But to dismiss him as merely depressing is to miss the extraordinary, practical power hidden within his words. Far from being a treatise on despair, The Wisdom of Life is, for me, a truly radical manual for living a more robust, resilient, and, yes, even serene existence. My own journey with Schopenhauer began at a point in my life where I was, quite frankly, exhausted. I was diligently following every prescribed route to success and happiness, working hard, chasing promotions, accumulating possessions, constantly seeking external validation and the next big thrill. Yet, despite checking off all the boxes, an underlying current of dissatisfaction persisted. Each achievement felt fleeting, each moment of joy shadowed by the anxiety of its inevitable end. I felt like I was constantly running on a treadmill, perpetually striving for a finish line that kept moving further away. A friend, perhaps sensing my quiet desperation, recommended The Wisdom of Life, almost with a mischievous twinkle in their eye. Prepare yourself, they warned, he doesn't pull any punches. And they were right, he doesn't. But what I discovered wasn't a confirmation of my fears, it was an astonishing sense of relief. Schopenhauer, with startling clarity, articulated many of the unspoken truths I had intuited, but never dared to voice truths about the nature of desire, the elusiveness of external happiness, and the inherent struggles of human existence. He wasn't telling me to give up, he was showing me how to recalibrate. He peeled back the layers of societal expectations, revealing a path to inner peace that didn't rely on the whims of fortune or the approval of others. It was like finally seeing the intricate mechanics of a complex machine I'd been blindly trying to operate, and suddenly everything clicked. It wasn't depressing, it was profoundly liberating. It taught me that true strength comes not from blindly optimistic cheerleading, but from a clear-eyed understanding of reality. So, let me be clear, the intention of this video is not to convert you to pessimism. Quite the opposite. My goal is to help you extract the enduring, practical strength from Schopenhauer's realism. It's about building a fortress of inner calm, cultivating genuine resilience, and learning to navigate life's inevitable challenges with wisdom and grace, rather than being perpetually buffeted by them. It's about discovering a profound sense of independence, where your well-being is less susceptible to external circumstances. Over the course of this journey together, we'll delve into the foundational principles articulated in the wisdom of life. We'll explore his insights into what truly contributes to our happiness and what invariably detracts from it, examining his often misunderstood perspectives on the will, suffering, and the art of living well. We'll unpack practical strategies for managing expectations, cultivating an internal locus of control, and finding contentment not in acquisition, but in a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world. We'll also tackle some of the common misconceptions surrounding Schopenhauer, aiming to reveal the profound solace and empowerment his philosophy can offer. By the end, I hope you'll see Arthur Schopenhauer not as the ultimate pessimist, but as a surprisingly compassionate and incredibly astute guide for a truly well-lived life. Let's begin. Welcome to the Wisdom of Life, our journey into Arthur Schopenhauer's profound insights on happiness, suffering, and the human condition. In this first chapter, What You Are the Only True Wealth, we delve into Schopenhauer's most crucial and foundational principle, one that, if truly understood, can reshape your entire perspective on well-being. He posits that the primary source of our experience, our joys and our sorrows, lies not in what we possess or what others think of us, but in the immutable core of our inner self. Schopenhauer meticulously divides the elements of human life into three fundamental categories, each influencing our happiness, but not equally. First, there is what one is. This encompasses our personality, character, intelligence, temperament, and health. It is, in essence, our inherent being, the sum of our physical and mental endowments. Second, there is what one has. This refers to all external possessions, property, wealth, and material goods. And finally, what one represents. This is our standing in the eyes of others, our reputation, status, honor, and fame. For Schopenhauer, what one is stands as unequivocally superior to the other two categories. He argues that our inner qualities are the primary filter through which all experiences pass. Imagine a person as a vessel, and life itself as the liquid being poured into it. If the vessel is well crafted, clean, and strong, representing a healthy body, a sharp mind, and a noble character, then even plain water, the simple, everyday experiences, can taste refreshing and deeply satisfying. But if the vessel is cracked, dirty, or poorly made, symbolizing ill health, a dull intellect, or a malicious disposition, then even the finest vintage wine, the most extraordinary life events, will be tainted, unpalatable, and ultimately unsatisfying. The inherent quality of the vessel dictates the value of whatever is poured into it. Your inner self is that vessel. This profound insight stands in stark contrast to much of modern society's relentless pursuit of happiness. We are often conditioned to seek external validation, to define our worth by what one has and what one represents. Our lives become a tireless race for bigger houses, newer cars, more impressive career titles, and an ever-increasing stream of social media likes and followers. We spend vast amounts of energy meticulously curating our online personas, chasing approval from strangers, believing that a higher status or greater wealth will somehow fill an inner void. But Schopenhauer warns us that this focus on external acquisitions is a perilous misdirection. No amount of external glory can compensate for internal poverty. Consider the person with a rich, cultivated mind. They can find a feast everywhere. A walk in nature becomes an exploration of beauty and wonder. A quiet evening with a book is an adventure into other worlds and ideas. Even solitude, often feared in our hyper-connected age, becomes an opportunity for reflection, creativity, and inner growth. Their inner resources are so vast and engaging that they derive satisfaction from the simplest, most accessible aspects of existence. In contrast, someone with a poor, uncultivated mind finds everything boring. They constantly crave external stimulation, needing endless entertainment, superficial distractions, or the fleeting thrill of material acquisition to escape the emptiness within. A beautiful sunset, a profound conversation, the quiet joy of creation, these pass them by unnoticed, unable to penetrate the inner dullness. Schopenhauer's message is clear and uncompromising. True wealth lies within. It's in the health of your body, the clarity of your intellect, the integrity of your character, and the richness of your spirit. These are the elements that genuinely determine your happiness and suffering, far more than any fortune you might accumulate or any accolades you might receive. Neglect your inner self in pursuit of external glitter, and you condemn yourself to a life of perpetual dissatisfaction, forever chasing shadows while the true source of light remains untended within. It is this fundamental truth that Schopenhauer urges us to understand, to cherish, and to cultivate above all else. Welcome back, fellow seekers of wisdom, as we delve deeper into Arthur Schopenhauer's profound insights on the nature of human happiness. In our previous discussion, we touched upon the fundamental elements that shape our well-being. Today, we turn our gaze to a particularly pervasive modern myth, the belief that happiness can be found in what we have. This is Chapter 2, What You Have, the Golden Cage of Possessions. It's a notion ingrained in almost every society, reinforced by advertising and cultural narratives, that acquiring more, owning more, and accumulating more will inevitably lead to a richer, more satisfying life. Schopenhauer, with his characteristic skepticism and unwavering gaze into the human condition, challenges this assumption directly, arguing that beyond satisfying our basic, genuine needs, possessions often become less a source of joy and more a source of anxiety, a gilded cage rather than a path to freedom. Let's begin by examining a concept Schopenhauer understood intimately long before psychologists coined the term the hedonic treadmill. Think of it as an invisible, perpetual machine on which we run endlessly, striving for a feeling of ultimate satisfaction that always remains just out of reach. When we acquire a new possession, a new car, a larger house, a coveted gadget, there's an initial surge of pleasure, a temporary elevation of mood. But how long does it last? Schopenhauer observed that this satisfaction is remarkably fleeting. Our baseline level of contentment quickly resets, and what was once a source of excitement becomes the new normal. The thrill dissipates, and our minds, ever restless, immediately begin to identify the next thing we desire, the next goal to pursue. We are forever chasing the horizon, only to find that it recedes as quickly as we approach it. This isn't just about material goods. It applies to status, achievements, and even relationships. The momentary bliss of acquisition is merely a brief pause in the perpetual cycle of wanting. Schopenhauer asserts that human nature is fundamentally driven by desires, and satisfaction is nothing more than the temporary cessation of a particular craving, soon to be replaced by another. This endless cycle, he warns, is precisely what prevents true, lasting contentment if we anchor our well-being to external acquisitions. And so, we arrive at a fascinating paradox. Wealth, far from eliminating anxiety, merely shifts its focus. When we possess little, our worries are often direct and tangible: how to secure food, shelter, or basic necessities. The anxieties are rooted in lack, But once these fundamental needs are met and wealth begins to accumulate, a different, perhaps more insidious set of anxieties emerges. The fear of wanting gives way to the fear of losing. The more we possess, the greater our stake in the world becomes, and consequently, the more vulnerable we feel to its unpredictable turns. Market fluctuations, economic downturns, theft, property damage, lawsuits, health issues that prevent us from enjoying our riches, these become the new specters haunting the wealthy. A person with vast holdings might spend more time and energy worrying about their investments, their estate, or protecting their assets than a person of modest means who, having less to lose, might feel a strange sense of liberation. Schopenhauer eloquently suggests that the rich man merely trades one set of burdens for another, perhaps even heavier one. The golden cage, while beautiful, requires constant vigilance and maintenance, and its bars, though gilded, are still bars. Now let's consider what many would argue is the greatest practical gift of wealth: leisure. The freedom from the necessity of labor, the ability to command one's own time, to pursue one's own interests without the pressing need for earning a livelihood. This, on the surface, seems like the ultimate liberation. Yet, Schopenhauer presents a critical caveat: leisure is utterly useless, indeed often a burden, without a mind capable of enjoying it. To truly benefit from leisure, one must possess an inner richness, an intellectual capacity, a disposition towards art, philosophy, learning, or creative pursuits. Without these internal resources, without a cultivated mind, leisure quickly devolves into boredom, restlessness, and even a profound sense of emptiness. The wealthy individual who lacks intellectual curiosity or artistic appreciation might find himself adrift, seeking endless external distractions, parties, travel, superficial entertainments, none of which can truly fill the void within. Schopenhauer's famous dictum, "What a man is contributes more to his happiness than what a man has," resonates powerfully here. A person of profound intellect and rich inner life can find boundless joy and fulfillment in even modest circumstances, while a millionaire devoid of such inner resources might be perpetually miserable, his wealth only highlighting his spiritual poverty. Leisure, therefore, is not an automatic pathway to happiness. It is merely an opportunity that only the internally rich can truly seize. Finally, let us draw a crucial distinction Schopenhauer makes between fulfilling genuine needs and chasing endless, manufactured wants. Genuine needs are foundational: the need for sustenance, for shelter, for safety, for basic comfort. These are finite and, once met, contribute directly to the alleviation of suffering, which Schopenhauer sees as the closest we get to happiness. But beyond these fundamental requirements, society relentlessly invents and promotes desires that are entirely artificial, externally imposed, and fundamentally insatiable. The latest fashion trends, the newest tech gadget, luxurious cars far exceeding their practical utility, sprawling mansions filled with unused rooms, these are not about solving a problem or fulfilling a lack. They are often driven by status anxiety, the desire to impress others, or simply a desperate attempt to fill the void of boredom. Schopenhauer would argue that these manufactured wants are particularly pernicious because they are endless. They keep us tethered to the external world, constantly comparing ourselves to others, forever feeling inadequate. True contentment, or at least the absence of profound dissatisfaction, comes from discerning these genuine needs from the fabricated desires and steadfastly refusing to be enslaved by the latter. Living within one's means, understanding what truly brings comfort and security, versus what merely promises fleeting external validation is a hallmark of the wise individual. So, as we conclude this chapter, Schopenhauer leaves us with a stark but ultimately liberating truth. The pursuit of happiness through material possessions is largely a fool's errand. The golden cage of possessions, while offering perceived security and status, often entraps us in a cycle of fleeting satisfaction, heightened anxiety, and an inability to truly enjoy the freedom it promises, unless accompanied by a cultivated inner life. Our focus, he urges, should shift from the external accumulation of what we have to the internal cultivation of what we are. It is in this inner realm, in the development of our mind and spirit, that the true, more enduring sources of well-being reside. Thank you for joining me on this exploration. Next, we will turn our attention to the critical importance of reputation and how it, too, can be both a blessing and a burden in our pursuit of a good life. Welcome back, truth seekers. In our journey through Schopenhauer's profound insights, we've explored the intrinsic value of our personal qualities and the fleeting nature of material possessions. Now, we arrive at a chapter that forces us to confront perhaps the most pervasive and insidious chains that bind us. What you represent escaping the prison of opinion. Schopenhauer, with his characteristic bluntness, was unequivocal in his deconstruction of the human obsession with reputation, honor, and, frankly, what others think of us. He saw this not merely as a superficial concern, but as a fundamentally fragile, often foolish, and ultimately debilitating foundation for happiness, effectively making us slaves to external judgment. For him, a life lived primarily for the good opinion of others was a life squandered, a perpetual performance devoid of true substance. Why, then, do we so desperately crave the approval of others, even complete strangers whose lives barely intersect with ours? It's a question that plagues many, and Schopenhauer provides a piercing, if uncomfortable, analysis. Perhaps it's a deep-seated evolutionary echo from our tribal past, where social acceptance literally meant survival, or a more insidious psychological need for constant validation to prop up a fragile ego. We are, after all, social creatures, and the desire to belong is potent. But Schopenhauer warns us against mistaking this instinct for genuine wisdom or a path to fulfillment. He observed how readily we sacrifice our peace of mind, our authenticity, and even our integrity to chase the elusive phantom of public esteem. We seek affirmation from sources that are often ignorant, fickle, or entirely superficial. The casual glance, the passing comment, the anonymous judgment. We allow the collective, often unthinking, gaze of society to dictate our internal barometer of worth, mistaking the shadow of reputation for the substance of true self-value. This pursuit, he argues, is a fundamental delusion, diverting us from the only true source of contentment, our inner self. This incessant need to outsource our self-worth creates an alarming and profound vulnerability. If our happiness hinges precariously on the accolades, the praise, or even just the absence of criticism from others, we grant them immense, almost tyrannical power over our emotional landscape. A casual slight, a critical remark, or even mere indifference from someone else can send our carefully constructed self-image crumbling. We become puppets, our strings pulled by the whims, prejudices, and often capricious moods of those around us. We find ourselves constantly checking the social mirror, perpetually gauging our performance. More tragically, this pursuit of external validation inevitably forces us into a state of profound inauthenticity. We cease to be ourselves, instead adopting personas, feigning opinions, and even cultivating passions that we believe will garner approval or avoid disapproval. We are perpetually performing, tailoring our actions and words not to our inner conviction, not to our genuine desires, but to the anticipated reactions of an external audience. Schopenhauer reserved particular disdain for the concept of honor when it was purely a social construct driven by a need for external validation rather than internal integrity. He saw it as often leading to absurdities, empty posturing, and even violence, all for the sake of appearances. Consider the vivid and somewhat unsettling metaphor of living as a character in someone else's story. When our primary concern is how we are perceived, we stop being the author, director, and protagonist of our own narrative. Instead, we become a mere player, acting out a part in a script meticulously written not by our unique spirit, but by societal expectations, cultural norms, and the ever-shifting currents of public opinion. Our actions are dictated by the perceived demands of our audience, not by our inner compass. Our true voice, our authentic desires, our unique perspective, these are silenced, pushed aside, or carefully modulated in favor of a curated performance designed to impress, to fit in, or simply to avoid criticism. We spend our lives constantly monitoring the audience, adjusting our dialogue, our gestures, our very expressions, afraid to step off script, fearing the disapproval or the lack of applause that might follow. The tragedy here is profound. We forfeit the rich, complex, and deeply personal experience of living our own story, with all its genuine joys and sorrows, its triumphs and failures, in favor of a superficial, anxiety-ridden existence dictated by others' perceptions. This constant performance is not only exhausting but profoundly alienating, leaving us feeling hollow and disconnected from our true selves. Schopenhauer, ever the advocate for inner sovereignty and intellectual independence, presents a powerful and liberating alternative, living by an internal code of values, utterly indifferent to praise or blame. This is the surest, perhaps the only, path to true independence and an unshakable inner peace. It means consciously directing our focus inward, cultivating our character, honing our intellect, and rigorously aligning our actions with our deepest convictions and principles. The wise person, in Schopenhauer's view, values their own reasoned judgment and the clear dictates of their conscience above all others. They understand that true honor resides in integrity, in consistency of character, and in unwavering self-respect, not in the ephemeral cheers or jeers of the crowd, which are often based on misunderstanding or fleeting trends. To embrace this perspective is to consciously build an inner fortress, a sanctuary of self, where external opinions, whether positive accolades or negative criticisms, cannot penetrate and disturb our tranquility. It is not about arrogance or dismissiveness towards others, but about profound self-possession and a steadfast reliance on one's own internal compass. When we are anchored in our own internal compass, we are truly free. Free from the endless, exhausting striving for external approval, free from the debilitating fear of judgment, free from the inauthentic and anxiety-inducing performance that is a life lived for others. We become the authentic authors of our own destiny, the genuine directors of our own unique play, living authentically, truly, and with an unburdened spirit. This, Schopenhauer suggests, is not merely freedom, it is the very essence of wisdom, the foundation of true dignity, and ultimately, the most reliable path to genuine contentment and inner peace. We escape the prison of opinion, not by force, but by simply ceasing to be its inmate. Welcome back to our exploration of Schopenhauer's The Wisdom of Life. Today, we delve into perhaps his most famous and enduring metaphor for the human condition, Chapter 4, aptly titled The Pendulum of Life, Pain, and Boredom. Schopenhauer observed that our existence is a constant, relentless swing between two poles, the pain of striving and the boredom of having achieved. True wisdom, he argued, lies in minimizing the amplitude of this swing, in finding a path to a more serene and less turbulent existence. Let's first understand the nature of the pain. For Schopenhauer, all wanting, all striving, all desire fundamentally stems from a state of lack, and this lack, by its very definition, is a form of suffering. Consider any goal you've ever pursued: a promotion, a new car, a perfect relationship, financial security, even just a delicious meal when you're hungry. Before you attain it, there's the pang of desire, the restless yearning, the discomfort of its absence. This state of not having is a perpetual gnawing, a constant pressure. Our lives are a relentless pursuit. We work tirelessly, we plan meticulously, we often sacrifice much to bridge this gap between what we have and what we want. Yet, the satisfaction upon achieving these goals is notoriously fleeting. A momentary pause before the next desire invariably rises to take its place, like hydra heads, or else something more insidious sets in. And that brings us to the other end of the pendulum: boredom. What happens when the striving ceases, when a goal is finally achieved, or when all immediate needs are met? Schopenhauer posits that an empty consciousness descends upon us. This is the affliction of those who possess no inner resources, who rely solely on external stimuli and material pursuits for their sense of purpose. When the external world no longer demands our struggle, when the chase is over and we find ourselves with nothing to do, the void within becomes apparent. Boredom isn't just a mild inconvenience, it's a profound, almost painful emptiness, a form of suffering in its own right, albeit more passive than the active pain of striving. It drives us to seek out new distractions, new desires, often frivolous ones, just to escape the terrifying silence of our own minds. So here we are, caught in this relentless oscillation. We strive and suffer until we get what we want. Then we're bored and suffer until we find something new to strive for. This is the pendulum of life. Happiness, Schopenhauer argued, is merely the brief, fleeting interval between the cessation of one pain and the emergence of another, or the onset of boredom. It's a momentary equilibrium, quickly disrupted. But Schopenhauer, ever the realist, also offered a profound solution, a way to mitigate the harshness of this perpetual swing. He urged us to cultivate intellectual and artistic pursuits. Why these? Because they engage the mind without the painful, external striving of material desire. They are self-sufficient sources of gratification. When you immerse yourself in a book, contemplate a piece of art, delve into a philosophical problem, learn a new skill, or create something beautiful, your mind is actively engaged. This engagement is intrinsically rewarding. It doesn't depend on acquiring an external object or achieving a fleeting goal. It cultivates an rich inner world, a sanctuary that makes you less dependent on the fickle fortunes of the external world. These pursuits offer a sustained, internal contentment that transcends the temporary highs of material gain and the crushing lows of boredom. They fill the empty consciousness with meaningful, self-directed activity. This ancient wisdom resonates powerfully in our modern world, perhaps more than ever. We live in an era of constant distraction. Our smartphones, social media feeds, streaming services, and endless digital content are always just a tap away. Are we truly engaging with these things, or are we merely using them as a perpetual shield against boredom? Are we substituting genuine intellectual and artistic engagement for passive consumption, a desperate attempt to keep the pendulum swinging, however mildly, to avoid the discomfort of stillness? Schopenhauer's insights challenge us to ask ourselves, are we cultivating an inner life rich enough to provide sustained meaning and joy? Or are we forever at the mercy of external stimuli, caught in a cycle of wanting and fleeting satisfaction, only to be plunged back into the void of boredom? The wisdom, then, lies not in trying to eliminate desire entirely, which Schopenhauer saw as impossible for most, but in understanding its nature and cultivating resources that allow us to step off the most violent arcs of the pendulum. It's about finding a stable, fulfilling middle ground where the peaks of pain and the troughs of boredom are flattened, and life becomes a more measured, thoughtful, and internally rich journey. By nurturing our minds and our creative spirits, we build a robust inner fortress against the relentless demands of the world and against the emptiness that threatens to consume us when those demands temporarily cease. Welcome back to our exploration of Schopenhauer's profound insights. In this fifth chapter, we turn our attention to a concept often misunderstood, yet one Schopenhauer praises with remarkable fervor: the power of solitude. For many, the word alone conjures images of isolation or sadness, but Schopenhauer invites us to a radical reframing, urging us to differentiate sharply between the often unwanted state of loneliness and the profound, enriching embrace of chosen solitude. Loneliness, as we generally understand it, is the pain of being alone, an involuntary void, a yearning for external connection. It's a state endured, a barren room one finds oneself trapped within. Solitude, by glorious contrast, is a deliberate, cherished act of voluntary withdrawal. It is the joy of being fully and intimately with oneself. It is not the absence of company, but rather the nourishing presence of one's own being, unencumbered by external demands and engaged with the rich tapestry of one's inner world. Schopenhauer saw it not as a lack, but as a fullness, a deep satisfaction derived from the intimate company of one's own thoughts and reflections. To truly appreciate solitude, he suggests, is to embark on a vital journey inward, discovering a realm far more compelling and fascinating than any external distraction. Indeed, Schopenhauer posits that one's capacity to truly enjoy solitude is a direct measure of their inner wealth. Those who are inwardly impoverished, whose minds are barren or spirits restless, will invariably flee from themselves. They constantly seek external stimulation and company, using others as a desperate shield against the vacuum they perceive within. Their happiness is always precarious, contingent upon external sources, a fragile house built on the shifting sands of transient social interactions. But for the individual blessed with a rich inner life, a keen intellect, a vibrant imagination, a deep well of self-reflection, solitude is not a burden, but an invaluable sanctuary. It is where they can retreat to converse with themselves, to nurture their profoundest thoughts, and to draw from an inexhaustible spring of self-sufficiency. For such a person, their happiness largely emanates from within, independent of what happens outside. It radiates from the secure core of their being, making them truly self-possessed. Furthermore, solitude offers an unparalleled liberation from the ceaseless demands of social performance. Schopenhauer astutely observed that in society we are often compelled to play roles, to wear masks, to present a carefully crafted version of ourselves that conforms to expectations, what he termed what we represent. We constantly measure ourselves against others, striving for approval, validation, or status. This constant performance is not only intellectually and emotionally exhausting but deeply inauthentic. Solitude, however, strips away these pretenses. In the quiet, unjudging company of oneself, there is no audience to impress, no criticism to fear, no need to align with societal pressures. We are free to simply be, to embrace our authentic, unvarnished selves. This profound freedom allows us to shed the heavy burden of social theatrics, conserving immense mental and emotional energy that can then be redirected towards genuine self-development, intellectual pursuits, and creative endeavors. It is in these moments of unadulterated self-presence that we can truly connect with our authentic core, finding profound peace and clarity. Finally, Schopenhauer frames solitude as an essential, almost sacred practice for achieving mental clarity, fostering creativity, and cultivating true self-possession. In the relentless clamor of the world, our minds are bombarded by countless distractions, fragmented by competing demands. Solitude provides the vital stillness necessary for deep thought to emerge, for complex ideas to be untangled, and for profound insights to crystallize. It is the fertile, undisturbed ground where creativity flourishes most naturally, where novel perspectives are born from quiet, uninterrupted contemplation. By regularly and intentionally withdrawing into oneself, one cultivates a stronger, more defined sense of self, understanding their own deepest values, truest desires, and unique path without the distorting lens of external opinions. It is through this deliberate practice of being alone, of truly embracing the company of self, that we gain mastery over our inner world, becoming the conscious authors of our own existence rather than mere characters in someone else's play. Solitude, then, is not merely the absence of others, it is the profound and empowering presence of self, a vital wellspring for a wise, independent, and truly fulfilling life. So far in our journey through Schopenhauer's wisdom of life, we've explored the fundamental nature of existence, the role of our unique individuality, and how our internal world largely dictates our happiness. Now, we arrive at perhaps the most practical and transformative strategy Schopenhauer offers, one that stands in stark contrast to much of contemporary thought, the profound art of limiting your desires. This isn't about self-deprivation or an austere, joyless existence. Rather, it's a powerful and liberating reorientation of our focus, a strategic mastery of our inner landscape. For Schopenhauer, true happiness isn't a prize to be won by accumulating more wealth, more possessions, more accolades, more fleeting pleasures. He argues that this relentless pursuit is a fool's errand, an endless cycle driven by an insatiable will. Instead, he proposes a different, more attainable path, a defensive game, a strategic minimization of suffering achieved by expertly managing our expectations. It's about playing life not to win a grand, often uncertain and short-lived prize, but to avoid losing the precious peace we already possess or are capable of cultivating. Think of it as a form of intellectual aikido, using the world's demands and the inherent nature of desire against themselves, rather than meeting them head-on in an often losing battle. This approach seeks to diminish the power of external circumstances over our inner state, creating a bulwark against the inherent turmoil of existence. Consider this fundamental shift in perspective. Schopenhauer argues that avoiding foreseeable misfortune is a far greater wisdom, and indeed a surer, more reliable path to contentment than endlessly chasing after uncertain pleasure. Most of our efforts, by default, are directed towards securing happiness through positive experiences. We strive for promotion, we gamble on new ventures, we hope for grand romantic gestures, always seeking a thrill, a peak experience. But pleasure, by its very nature, is ephemeral. It's a momentary cessation of desire, a brief lull, quickly replaced by new wants, new discontents, new aches. Pain, however, is insistent, pervasive, and often long-lasting, leaving a far deeper imprint. If we can consciously identify and diminish the sources of pain and suffering in our lives, both external and, more importantly, internal, those born of our own unchecked desires, the general level of our well-being automatically rises. It's a pragmatic calculus. The absence of pain is a much more achievable, sustainable, and ultimately more significant state than the perpetual, exhausting pursuit of positive delight. This isn't just theory, it's an observable truth in the ebb and flow of human experience. This crucial insight leads directly to the potent strategy of keeping our expectations low. Imagine two people preparing for a journey. One envisions a flawless trip, sunny skies, perfect connections, exquisite meals, and profound, meaningful encounters with locals. The other, having a more grounded understanding of travel, anticipates potential delays, minor inconveniences, perhaps a mediocre meal or two, and finds genuine satisfaction in merely reaching their destination safely and without major incident. Who is more likely to be deeply disappointed when reality inevitably deviates from the ideal? Who is better prepared to navigate the inevitable bumps in the road with equanimity? Our disappointments rarely come from reality itself, but from the often inflated gap between reality and our conception of reality. When our expectations soar sky high, the potential for a painful crash landing increases exponentially, leaving us feeling disillusioned and resentful. By consciously lowering our expectations, we don't resign ourselves to mediocrity or suppress our capacity for joy. Rather, we inoculate ourselves against the sharp sting of disappointment. We learn to transform the ordinary into the agreeable, and the agreeable into a source of quiet, steady joy. Small positive events, which would otherwise be dismissed as mere trifles because they didn't meet some grand expectation, suddenly become pleasant surprises, moments of grace. The simple absence of suffering, too often taken for granted, becomes a significant gain, a profound relief. This isn't a call to cynicism, but to a profound sense of realism about the human condition, the unpredictability of external events, and the ultimately unsatisfying nature of unchecked desire. It's an exercise in mental discipline that prioritizes inner peace. Schopenhauer suggests that a calm and modest life, one free from grand, often self-imposed ambitions and the incessant craving for external validation, offers the very best chance for true, lasting contentment. Such a life prioritizes inner tranquility over outward show, genuine peace of mind over thrilling, yet ultimately draining excitement, and steady satisfaction over intense, but transient, joy. It acknowledges that the vast majority of our suffering arises from our will, our endless striving, desiring, and wanting, and seeks to moderate that will. It's about finding true freedom not in having everything, but in needing less, in detaching our happiness from the capricious whims of the external world. It's a life where the small victories against potential misfortune, the successful navigation of minor difficulties, become the true and most celebrated triumphs. Crucially, This perspective is not presented as a pessimistic resignation to fate or an embrace of despair. Far from it. This is a robust and resilient strategy for cultivating a genuinely peaceful and enduringly satisfying life. It's an active, conscious choice to regain control over our inner world, to shift the locus of happiness from the unpredictable external realm to the manageable internal one. To embrace Schopenhauer's wisdom here is to build an inner fortress, an unshakable sanctuary against the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, against the inevitable frustrations and heartaches that life throws our way. It is a profound acknowledgement that while we cannot always control what happens to us, we possess immense, often underestimated, power over how we react to it, and more importantly, how much we expect from it. This isn't about being passive, it's about being strategically active in managing the self. By disarming our desires, by consciously managing our expectations downward, we effectively disarm much of life's potential for pain and disappointment. We trade the fleeting, often exhausting highs of chasing external rewards for the enduring, quiet peace of internal self-mastery. It is a path not for the faint of heart, but for those courageous enough to confront their own boundless desires and find true liberty in their limitation. This is the profound art of limiting your desires, and it stands as a cornerstone of Schopenhauer's practical wisdom for living a better, more tranquil, and ultimately more fulfilling life. You've absorbed some of Schopenhauer's wisdom. Now, let's turn profound insights into practical action. Our 7-day Schopenhauer action plan isn't a thought experiment, it's a direct challenge to apply these concepts, to feel their impact. Get ready to shift your perspective, one deliberate action at a time. Day 1 and 2, what you are cultivating your inner world. Schopenhauer emphasized that true happiness comes from what you are, your inner character and intellect, not from possessions or external validation. For days 1 and 2, dedicate 30 minutes daily to a non-digital, mind-engaging hobby. This means no screens, no notifications. Pick an activity that truly absorbs you: drawing, music, writing, knitting, puzzles. The goal isn't productivity, but active engagement that requires focus and skill. As you immerse yourself, notice how your mind quiets and the external world fades. This practice nurtures your inner self, strengthening the core of what you are, fostering a genuine satisfaction independent of fleeting external pleasures. Day 3 and 4, what you represent: the opinion fast. Schopenhauer critiqued our obsession with what you represent, our reputation, and, more insidiously, what others think of us. He saw living for external approval as a path to misery. For days 3 and 4, embark on an opinion fast. Consciously make small, everyday decisions without considering others' thoughts. This isn't about recklessness, but internal liberation. Choose your outfit based on comfort, order what you genuinely crave, or pursue a hobby you love, even if it's unconventional. Pay attention to the automatic mental anticipation of others' reactions. When you notice it, consciously pivot. Choose what aligns with your inner self, freeing yourself from the imagined gaze of others. This reveals the invisible weight we carry and the freedom waiting to be reclaimed. Day 5 and 6, pain and boredom, embracing true solitude. Schopenhauer noted life's pendulum swing between pain and boredom. When suffering isn't present, boredom often takes over, leading us to seek external distractions. For days 5 and 6, confront this directly. Schedule 1 hour each day of true solitude, no devices whatsoever, no phone, no TV, no books, no music. Just you, your thoughts, and your surroundings. Sit, walk, or simply be. Your task is to observe, Notice the initial discomfort, the urge to check your phone, mental chatter, restlessness. Don't fight it, just observe. Then, notice if this discomfort shifts into peace, new thoughts, or profound realizations. Does your perspective on your own company change? This cultivates inner richness, helping you withstand the void of external stimulation and find comfort in your own presence, an antidote to both pain and boredom. Day 7. Limiting desire, the path to tranquility. Schopenhauer saw desire as the root of suffering. The insatiable will constantly drives us to want more, leading to perpetual dissatisfaction. On day 7, your task is twofold. First, identify one strong desire you have now, be it a possession, achievement, or outcome. Reflect on its potential suffering. Is it causing anxiety, envy, frustration, or a sense of lack? Acknowledge how the mere act of desiring can breed unhappiness. Second, practice gratitude for what you already have. List specific things, big and small, for which you are genuinely thankful. This isn't about denying ambition, but breaking the automatic link between desire and suffering. Contentment isn't just about getting what you want, but appreciating what you have and understanding the will's nature. By limiting desire and cultivating gratitude, you begin to dismantle suffering, opening a path to tranquility. And so, your 7-day Schopenhauer action plan concludes. This week has offered a practical engagement with profound truths, examining your life through a new lens. Remember, this isn't a one-time fix. These practices can integrate into your daily routine, deepening your connection to Schopenhauer's wisdom. Keep exploring, questioning, and applying these insights, for philosophy's true measure isn't just what we know, but how we live. As we conclude our journey through the profound and often challenging landscape of Arthur Schopenhauer's The Wisdom of Life, it's essential to distill his core philosophy into actionable insights. Schopenhauer, for all his perceived pessimism, offered a remarkably practical framework for navigating the complexities of existence and cultivating a truly contented life. He didn't promise boundless joy, but rather a path to serene acceptance and inner peace. Let's recap the 3 foundational pillars that emerge from his sagacious observations, forming the bedrock upon which genuine well-being can be built, regardless of external fortune. The first, and arguably most crucial, pillar Schopenhauer erects is the supremacy of your inner world. He posits that what a man is far outweighs what he has or represents. Your temperament, your intellect, your moral character, these intrinsic qualities are your constant companions, determining the fundamental tone and quality of your experience. External circumstances, wealth, social standing, reputation, these are fleeting, subject to the whims of chance, easily acquired and just as easily lost. They are but accessories, often ill-fitting to the true self. Therefore, the wise individual dedicates their primary efforts to cultivating their mind and character. This means a lifelong commitment to intellectual pursuits, fostering curiosity, developing critical thought, and engaging deeply with art, philosophy, and knowledge. It also means the meticulous shaping of one's ethical framework, striving for integrity, empathy, and self-awareness. When your inner landscape is rich, well-tended, and robust, you possess a self-sufficient source of contentment that external forces struggle to diminish. Your happiness, or indeed your sorrow, emanates from within, from the quality of your thoughts and feelings, from the health of your spiritual and intellectual being. To neglect this inner garden in favor of accumulating external riches is, for Schopenhauer, the ultimate folly, akin to building a magnificent mansion on quicksand. Your inner world is your impregnable fortress, your sanctuary, and the only true territory over which you hold absolute dominion. Invest in it, nurture it, and you secure a treasure that time and fate cannot erode. Moving to our second pillar, Schopenhauer profoundly shifts our understanding of happiness, asserting that true contentment is found not in the pursuit of fleeting highs, but in the tranquil avoidance of pain and suffering. This isn't a cynical dismissal of joy, but a pragmatic recognition of life's fundamental nature. He argues that pleasure is merely the temporary cessation of pain, a fleeting relief before new desires inevitably arise. Our existence, he observes, is a pendulum swinging between the two poles of desire and boredom. Fulfill one wish, and 100 new ones spring forth, each bringing its own potential for frustration and disappointment. To chase intense pleasures is, therefore, to embark on an endless, self-defeating quest that rarely yields lasting satisfaction. Instead, Schopenhauer counsels a negative path to happiness, systematically identifying and mitigating sources of suffering. This involves a profound sense of prudence and foresight, avoiding unnecessary risks, managing expectations, cultivating moderation in all things, and prioritizing health and safety. The wise person, he suggests, doesn't aim for a life brimming with ecstatic delights, but rather for one remarkably free from significant sorrows, anxieties, and deprivations. It's about cultivating a steady state of calm, a robust inner peace that is not easily disturbed. This perspective encourages us to appreciate the absence of suffering as a positive good, a state of quiet grace that is far more attainable and sustainable than the intoxicating but ephemeral rush of intense pleasure. In embracing tranquility, we step off the hedonistic treadmill, finding genuine relief and a more enduring form of well-being. Finally, we arrive at the third pillar. Real freedom, according to Schopenhauer, is cultivated through independence from external validation and unnecessary desires. For many, freedom is perceived as the liberty to acquire anything they wish or to act without restraint. Schopenhauer challenges this notion, revealing it as a subtle form of enslavement. When our sense of self-worth is tethered to the opinions of others, their approval, their praise, their social recognition, we become prisoners of their perceptions. We live to meet their expectations, constantly seeking their affirmation, forever on edge about how we are viewed. This pursuit of external validation, or honor as he often termed it, is a boundless and ultimately futile endeavor that drains our energy and compromises our authenticity. Similarly, the relentless pursuit of unnecessary material desires, fashionable trends, or social status creates an endless cycle of longing, acquisition, and eventual dissatisfaction. These desires, far from liberating us, bind us to the external world, making us dependent on things that are inherently unstable, perishable, and ultimately incapable of providing lasting fulfillment. True freedom, then, is an internal emancipation. It is the conscious decision to detach from the whims of the crowd and the allure of superfluous possessions. It means cultivating a strong inner compass, valuing self-respect above public acclaim, and finding contentment in what is essential and within one's control. It's about simplifying, decluttering not just our physical space, but our mental and emotional landscapes from the noise of others' expectations and the clamor of insatiable wants. This profound independence grants us agency, allowing us to live authentically, driven by our own well-cultivated reason and character, rather than being swayed by the shifting sands of external pressures. It is in this liberation from needing anything beyond oneself that the most profound and enduring sense of freedom truly resides. These three pillars, prioritizing your inner world, seeking tranquility over fleeting highs, and embracing true independence form the essence of Schopenhauer's wisdom. They are not prescriptions for a life devoid of challenges, but rather profound tools for cultivating resilience, self-sufficiency, and a quiet, enduring contentment in the face of life's inevitable ebbs and flows. By internalizing these principles, we can begin to build a life that is truly our own, fortified from within, and anchored in a deeper understanding of what it truly means to flourish. We've embarked on a fascinating, and at times challenging, intellectual journey through the profound insights of Arthur Schopenhauer, guided by the wisdom of life. His philosophy, with its unflinching realism and poignant observations on the human condition, happiness and suffering, offers a unique lens through which to examine our own lives. But this exploration, this deep dive into the mind of a master, is never truly complete with just a single viewing. True understanding, the kind that reshapes your perspective, often blossoms from active engagement, thoughtful dialogue, and continuous reflection. This is why I extend an open invitation to you, our discerning viewer, to join the ongoing conversation. Take a moment to reflect on the ideas we've discussed today. From Schopenhauer's compelling assertions about the will to his nuanced view of pleasure and pain, or his emphasis on cultivating inner peace rather than chasing external gratifications, there's a wealth of wisdom to unpack. So, as you internalize these profound concepts, I genuinely want to hear from you. Which of Schopenhauer's ideas has been the most challenging for you to grapple with, perhaps pushing the boundaries of your preconceived notions? Or, conversely, which of his insights has resonated as the most liberating, offering a fresh perspective or clarity? Your personal reflections, unique interpretations, and heartfelt questions are incredibly valuable, not merely to me but, more importantly, to the vibrant community also grappling with these timeless philosophical inquiries. Let's foster a dynamic space in the comments below, a true agora for insightful discussion, respectful debate, and enriching mutual learning. Your voice matters immensely in shaping this intellectual exchange. If you found genuine value in this intellectual expedition, if Schopenhauer's wisdom, even in its austere honesty, has sparked recognition or deepened your understanding, please take a moment to give this video a thumbs up. A simple like helps YouTube's algorithms recognize our content, allowing us to reach more curious minds yearning for thoughtful engagement. And if you're eager to continue dissecting complex philosophical concepts, presented in an accessible, humanized way, a way that speaks directly to your modern experience, then I wholeheartedly encourage you to subscribe to this channel. By subscribing, you become an integral part of our growing community, ensuring you never miss our upcoming deep dives into the thinkers who have shaped our understanding of existence. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you're always informed the moment we publish our next thought-provoking upload. Perhaps Schopenhauer's contemplative realism has ignited a broader curiosity for other philosophical traditions that grapple with the human condition, inner peace, and resilience. If so, and you're seeking to broaden your philosophical horizons, I warmly recommend our video titled An Introduction to Stoicism. While distinct, Stoicism, like Schopenhauer's work, offers invaluable, actionable wisdom for navigating life's challenges and cultivating a robust inner life. It's an excellent, complementary next step on your journey of philosophical exploration, offering another powerful toolkit for personal growth and understanding. You can find a link to it in the description, or it might be popping up on your screen right about now. Ultimately, while we strive to make these videos comprehensive and engaging, they are designed to serve as an introduction, a catalyst for deeper, personal engagement. To truly immerse yourself in the intricate, often challenging, yet rewarding tapestry of Schopenhauer's complete thought, to absorb the full breadth and power of his original arguments, there is no substitute for reading the source material itself. I cannot overstate the recommendation to pick up your own copy of The Wisdom of Life by Arthur Schopenhauer. Engage with his prose directly, underline passages that resonate, challenge his assertions, and allow his insights to profoundly shape your understanding of existence, happiness, and meaning. It is an intellectual journey that promises to be incredibly enriching and transformative, well worth undertaking for any serious seeker of wisdom. Keep questioning, keep learning, and most importantly, keep diligently seeking and refining your own unique wisdom. Your intellectual journey is a lifelong quest, and we are honored to be a part of it.